Crisis on Infinite Earths. Once, DC didn't have just one universe, it had infinite ones. Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 3, each had its own heroes, villains, and history. But all those worlds created confusion, so in 1985, DC chose to start fresh. It began with two cosmic twins, the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor, born at the dawn of creation when matter and antimatter split into separate universes. The Monitor watched over life, the Anti-Monitor thrived on destruction. When the Anti-Monitor awoke, he unleashed waves of antimatter that wiped out entire universes. In Crisis on Infinite Earths number 2 through 12, the Monitor brought together heroes and villains from across the multiverse. Superman from Earth 1 and Earth 2, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, even Lex Luthor to save reality. But the plan failed. The Anti-Monitor's shadow demons devoured entire worlds, leaving only broken pieces of the multiverse behind. Supergirl's death in issue number 7 became one of the most iconic moments in comic book history. She gave her life battling the Anti-Monitor to save her cousin and billions of others. Then in issue number 8, Barry Allen, the Flash, ran faster than ever before to destroy the antimatter cannon. His body turned into pure energy and vanished into legend. In the final battle at the dawn of time, the lost heroes confronted the Anti-Monitor in the antimatter universe. With the combined strength of all reality, they destroyed him, but it came at a cost. The multiverse collapsed, merging into a single unified Earth, a rebirth, one universe, one timeline, one history. 0 Hour Crisis in Time. The multiverse was gone, one Earth, one timeline, but there was a problem. Time itself was broken. After Crisis on Infinite Earths, DC merged all realities into one, but cracks started to appear. Some characters remembered past worlds, others didn't. Two versions of the same hero existed in one timeline. Time wasn't healing, it was falling apart. That's when 0 Hour Crisis in Time began. The story opened with reality erasing itself backward, whole centuries vanishing in reverse. History was literally being rewritten second by second. The reason? A forgotten hero consumed by pain, Hal Jordan, once known as Green Lantern. After losing Coast City to Mongol in Reign of the Supermen, Hal was overwhelmed by grief. Taken over by the power of Parallax, he made a choice to rebuild the universe from the ground up to fix time. But his idea of fixing things meant destroying everything first. Heroes from all eras, from the Justice Society to the modern Justice League, came together to stop him. The timeline folded in on itself, making different generations of heroes fight side by side. In 0 Hour number 4, Batman met versions of himself, Flash crossed paths with his predecessor, and time ran out completely. In the final battle, Wave Rider and the remaining heroes faced Hal at the dawn of creation. Parallax tried to restart reality, but Green Arrow stopped him, firing an arrow straight through Hal's willpower at the last second, preventing the complete erasure of existence. Time was reset, the DC timeline was rewritten once again, but the countdown hadn't stopped, because the next crisis wouldn't destroy time, it would consume everything. Infinite Crisis. Everything seemed fixed after 0 Hour, one timeline, one Earth, but the peace didn't last. Heroes had changed and not in a good way. The world had grown darker, Superman began to doubt himself, Batman stopped trusting others. Wonder Woman had killed in the name of peace. The golden age of heroism was fading and someone was watching it happen. That someone was Superman of Earth 2. Alongside Lois Lane, Alexander Luthor Jr., and Superboy Prime, he had survived Crisis on Infinite Earths, trapped in a paradise dimension. But over time, paradise felt more like a prison. Watching the modern world fall into chaos shattered their hope. They believed the wrong Earth had survived and they were ready to bring theirs back. That's where Infinite Crisis 2005 number 1 through 7 began. Alexander Luthor started working from the shadows, secretly rebuilding the multiverse piece by piece. Superboy Prime, angry and unstable, went on a violent rampage across realities, killing any heroes who tried to stop him. In Infinite Crisis number 4, he nearly beat Connor Kent, the modern Superboy, to death. Then in issue number 7, they had one final brutal fight. Both Superboys died in battle, their sacrifice closing the rift between worlds. At the same time, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman had to face their own failures. Their friendship and the Justice League itself fell apart under guilt and mistrust. Meanwhile, Alexander Luthor tried to fuse the remaining worlds into one perfect Earth, tearing the multiverse even further apart. In the end, the heroes won, just barely. The multiverse returned, but not as it was, not infinite, but limited. 52 Earths now existed, parallel, balanced, and fragile. The age of heroes began again, but not without scars. Trust was broken, hope was shaken, and far beyond the stars, something ancient was already preparing to test this new multiverse once more. Final crisis. The universe had survived countless collapses. 52 worlds now stood in balance for the moment. But evil never truly dies. It waits. In Final Crisis, that evil came back from the very end of time in the form of Darkseid. After his death in Death of the New Gods, Darkseid's spirit fell through reality and entered a human body on Earth. Slowly, his power spread, twisting minds, infecting technology, and turning free will into chains. The anti-life equation had finally been released. One by one, the heroes began to fall. Wonder Woman, Superman, even the Flash, all were caught in a world breaking under a god's control. Entire cities became mindless slaves to the equation, their glowing eyes proof of their obedience. Humanity itself was being rewritten. The story stretched across dimensions. In Final Crisis number 3, Barry Allen, long thought dead since Crisis on Infinite Earths, returned, racing through time with Wally West to outrun death itself. In issue number 6, Batman took his final stand, firing the radium bullet to injure Darkseid. But Darkseid struck back. Batman was hit by the Omega Sanction, erased from existence and lost in time. Then Superman arrives with the miracle machine. He reshaped reality through willpower alone, singing Darkseid's essence apart with vibrations of pure creation, but it wasn't without sacrifice. Entire timelines folded, universes reset, and Earth barely survived the birth of a new cosmic age. The multiverse lived again, damaged but alive. Barry was home, Batman's legend echoed through time, but beneath it all, something older began to awaken, a whisper from before time itself. And soon, even the universe wouldn't be enough to contain what was coming. Flashpoint. Sometimes the end of the world begins with love, and this time it started with Barry Allen. After Final Crisis, Barry returned, alive but burdened. He remembered every loss, every death, but most of all, he remembered his mother. In Flashpoint number 1, Barry wakes up in a world that feels wrong. There's no Justice League, no Superman, and somehow his mother's alive. At first it seems like a miracle, but soon he realizes it's a nightmare. Atlantis and the Mascara are at war, flooding the planet with fire and death. Thomas Wayne, not Bruce, is Batman, a man shattered by grief. Superman was captured as a child, locked away in a secret lab, and Cyborg leads the US military, barely holding a broken world together. Barry eventually learns the truth. He caused all of it. Desperate to save his mother, he ran back in time and stopped her murder, breaking the timeline in the process. That one act shattered reality. In Flashpoint number 5, Barry faces an impossible choice. Let his mother die to save the world. With tears in his eyes, he resets the timeline, fixing what he broke, but changing everything. The world is reborn, younger, different, unfamiliar. The heroes are new, the past has changed. This was the start of the new 52. Barry's grief became the spark of creation. One man's heartbreak rebuilt a universe, but under the light of this new world, something was watching. A blue hand, a smile, a shadow beyond time. And the next crisis wasn't on its way, it had already begun. Convergence. The multiverse had been rewritten again and again, but not everything disappeared. Some pieces refused to die. After Flashpoint and the New 52, the DC universe moved forward, or so it believed. But beyond space and time, pieces of lost worlds still drifted in the void. Cities, heroes, and moments from forgotten timelines, all preserved by one being, Brainiac. In Convergence number 0 through 8, Brainiac captures entire cities from every era, from Crisis on Infinite Earths to Flashpoint, and traps them under domes on a planet outside reality, called Telos. Inside each dome, time stands still. Heroes lose their powers for a full year, everything is frozen. Then the domes fall, and chaos begins. Telos, a living being created by Brainiac, sets the rules. Only one city will survive. Each world must fight to prove it deserves to exist. Imagine pre-Flashpoint Superman battling heroes from Kingdom Come, or Flashpoint Batman fighting a version of himself. This isn't just a war, it's the survival of entire timelines. In Convergence number 8, pre-Flashpoint Superman uncovers Brainiac's true pain to understand and restore the broken multiverse. With help from heroes across all realities, he resets history, sending key figures like Barry Allen and Kara Zor-El back to Crisis on Infinite Earths to prevent their deaths, changing the outcome of that original event. The barriers between worlds collapsed, the multiverse was restored, infinite once again, but peace never lasts, because as the universes began to heal, a single question started to echo through time. Dark Knight's metal. What if every nightmare the heroes ever feared was real? Not just imagined, but alive, clawing its way into their world. In Dark Knight's metal number 1 through 6, Batman uncovers something terrifying. For years, strange metals, nth metal, electrum, dynesium, have appeared around him, each linked to ancient forces. But these weren't just powerful relics. They were keys to a place that should never exist, the dark multiverse. Think of it as the multiverse's shadow, a twisted reflection built from fear and failure. Every nightmare, every what if Batman lost control exists there, and now those nightmares are breaking through. When Batman's obsession pushes him too far, he becomes the doorway. The Dark God, Barbatos, uses him to open the gate, releasing the Dark Knights, twisted Batman fused with the powers of the Justice League, the Red Death, the Dawnbreaker, the Drowned, the Devastator, the Murder Machine, the Merciless, and leading them, the Batman who laughs, a Jokerized Bruce Wayne from a world where he killed the Joker and went insane. The Justice League fights back with everything they've got, even calling upon ancient beings like Dream of the Endless, Sandman, number 1, and channeling cosmic powers through music itself. But in the end, the battle leads to something more. The source wall, the boundary at the edge of existence, is shattered, and beyond it lies something older, something watching. The multiverse is growing again, but now it's leaking darkness, and as the League looks out into the unknown, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The crisis isn't over, it's just evolving. Dark Knight's death metal. The universe was broken and the Batman who laughs won. After Dark Knight's metal, the multiverse didn't just grow, it shattered. In Dark Knight's death metal number 1 through 7, Earth has fallen under the control of the Darkest Knight, the final form of Batman who laughs, now fused with the power of Dr. Manhattan. Reality itself has been twisted into his nightmare vision. Wonder Woman ruled the underworld. Batman leads an army of the dead with a Black Lantern ring. Superman, trapped inside the sun, burns endlessly to power his own prison. The world is almost unrecognizable, a heavy metal apocalypse, but Wonder Woman won't back down. Empowered by Hectate's magic and armed with a chainsaw made from her invisible jet, yes really, she leads the final resistance, the last 52. Heroes and villains from every timeline rise together: Harley Quinn, Swamp Thing, Batman, and more. Meanwhile, Crisis Energy and Anti-Crisis Energy, drawn from every past DC crisis, clash. In Death Metal number 7, Wonder Woman faces the Darkest Knight in a final battle that spans time, space, and memory itself. In the end, she evolves, transformed by cosmic light into the golden goddess Diana. She pulls the Darkest Knight into the heart of the cosmic sun, destroying him and restoring balance to the multiverse. The universe is reborn again, now as the Omniverse. Infinite Earths, infinite timelines, every story matters, every pass counts. But even in this bright new beginning, a faint whisper remains, a voice from beyond reality. The next crisis won't bring destruction, it will bring judgment. Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. It began with loss. The Justice League was dead. In Justice League number 75, the team faces a cosmic force called the Great Darkness, the same ancient power that existed before creation itself. It was once pure emptiness, but now it's being controlled by Parrish, the last survivor on the original Crisis on Infinite Earths. Broken by grief and guilt, Pariah believes he can build a perfect multiverse, but only by destroying this one. Using the darkness, he kills the entire Justice League in an instant, trapping each hero in their own perfect dream. Superman lives in a world of peace, Batman in one endless victory, Wonder Woman in a realm of pure truth. The world grieves. Nightwing, Black Adam, John Kent, they try to step up, but the world feels empty without its gods, and that's exactly what Pariah wants. But heroes don't stay gone. As the younger generation rises, led by Nightwing and John Kent's Superman, the Trapped League begins to break free. In Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, they see through the false realities and return to stop Pariah's twisted multiverse. The final battle spans Infinite Earths. Deathstroke, corrupted by darkness, leads an army against the new Titans. The sky burns, reality falls apart, and Nightwing becomes the heart of DC's next rebirth. In Dark Crisis number 7, Pariah is defeated. The darkness retreats. The Infinite Earths lost in 1985 return, reborn, and rebalanced. Every world restored, every hero remembered. The Justice League no longer leads, the Titans rise. This is the age of legacy, because for the first time ever, the future belongs to them.